Welcome back, everybody, for my portfolio update for July 2025. And the party in the market kind of continued over the past month, with stocks continuing to be up, but just not quite as much as before, with the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq up a little bit over 2% for the month. And I know the market today on August 1st is actually down big, which will be really interesting for next month. But in honor of Amazon dumping after earnings and Andy Jassy not being able to answer an AWS question, I'm going to wear my AWS hat. So where did I actually end up for July? Well, let's find out. Now, we're back in Snowball Analytics, and now as of August 1st, my account is currently at $453,497 and some change. Now, obviously, this is for July. This is as of the pre-market on August 1st. I know the market's down big today, and we'll see how that plays out for the rest of August, but July was a good month. So if we take a look at the actual breakdown, I've adjusted this to see how we did for July only. See that my account value was up $26,479 for the month in terms of dollar value. And if we look at performance only, we see that performance was up $25,679. And that's because I have my normal $800 contribution, but it means that we've added almost $125,000 over the past 3 months into these accounts. And I mean, that's just amazing stuff. I know we're probably due for a pullback, which may be starting today, but I'll absolutely take it. Now, if we take a look at the breakdown, we see that it's mostly capital gains of $25,500 with $146 of dividends received. Now, as you can see for July, the trend was basically down for one day and then up only for the rest of the month. But let's see how I did against the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. For the month, my portfolio was up 6.02%, with the S&P 500 up 2.58%, again accounting for the timing of my own buys and sells, and the Nasdaq up 2.53%. So again, we outpaced the indexes in July with more than 2x the S&P and the Nasdaq. Now, if we take a look at where we stand year to date, we see that my portfolio was up 27%, the S&P 500 now up 8.76%, and the Nasdaq up 10.81%. Again, based on the timing of my own buys and sells. So as of right now, we're extending our lead against the S&P and the Nasdaq 100 for the year, but again, these things can change quickly, and I would expect it to probably slow down a bit. Now, if we take a look at the performance of my portfolio since I started it on December 8th, 2022, we see that my portfolio is up over 84%. The S&P 500 is up just under 59%, and the Nasdaq is up over 90%. So since inception, we're outpacing the S&P by over 25 percentage points now, but still trailing the Nasdaq by over 6 percentage points. But if you guys remember, last month we were trailing the Nasdaq by around 12 percentage points. So we've made up 6 percentage points all the time in a month, and I think over the past 2 months, we've made up 14 percentage points, which is just unbelievable, not probably sustainable, but the fact that we kind of had those slower growing stocks back in 2023 gave the Nasdaq a little bit of a head start, but we're making a really big push and may actually have a chance to beat it someday. And the reality is that we've been making up a lot of ground over the past 12 months. If we just take a look at the past year, the performance has been pretty awesome. I mean, my portfolio is up over 48.5%, with the S&P 500 up over 15% and the Nasdaq up over 20%. So we've really been on a great run over the past 12 months, and those decisions back in 2024 and earlier in 2025 have really paid off so far. Now, if we take a look at what I bought and sold for the month, it was basically just one thing, and that's on July 10th, I bought 100 shares of Palantir at $141.15 a share. Now, again, if you're following my community post or other videos, you already know about this, but the 10-second version is this. I think Palantir is the undisputed leader in operational AI, and I don't think they have any real competitors in that space. And I think enterprises are just at the beginning of their investing cycle for that. So I think Palantir is just going to be much bigger. Now, buying them at 141 is obviously a risk, but as I explained in my video, I was experimenting with my little TradingView indicator that I built that basically automates the things that I look at from a chart perspective to find good entries. And it hit around the day or so that I bought. So we'll see where it goes. With that being said, let's take a look at my updated portfolio weights. So Nvidia is back in the top spot at over 17%. Amazon is next at over 16%, but that may change after earnings here. And Meta still in the top 3 at 11.09. Now, Taiwan Semi is fourth at 10.5%, and they've had a good month. Cloudflare still in the top 5 at just under 10%. Coinbase jumped up to 6th at over 8%, but based on what I'm seeing today, that may change next month as well. Visa is down to 7.62%, Snowflake at just under 7%, Google at 5.29%, and Palantir, new to the portfolio this month, at just 3.49%. And then, of course, I still have a little bit of cash at just under 3%. Now, if we take a look at what holdings performed the best over the past month, Nvidia is the best performer of the month and just under 17%. Coinbase continued to perform well at 12.65%, but again, we'll see what happens after earnings. Palantir up 12% in about 3 weeks, and it was my third best performer for the month, which is pretty cool. Google had a nice month, up just under 12%. Cloudflare was up over 8.5%. Taiwan Semi up over 8% and doing well. Meta up 7.5%, and that includes the big day they had after earnings, so they were actually negative for the month before that. Amazon up 4.4%, but again, we'll see how that plays out. Snowflake was up about 3.5%, and Visa was my lone negative holding for the month at minus 2.81%. Now, if we take a look at which holdings have performed the best overall, and remember, this is just price return since I take my dividends in cash to reinvest manually, but Cloudflare is in the top spot at over 106%. And actually, it's earned me more than that because I took profits and bought back in later, so yeah, it's been amazing. Nvidia is at 98.5%, and they've been on a tear. Coinbase is third at over 58%, which is pretty crazy. Meta is up over 55% with a good month. Visa at over 40%. Amazon at over 37%. Google at over 26%, again, after a good month. TSM's over 25%, and their business results are amazing. Snowflake at just over 24%. And lastly, Palantir, 12% in the green after a few weeks. Now, if we take a look at my investment income specifically for the next 12 months, we see that my annual dividends and interest are at $1,153 and some change compared to the $1,125 that I had in June, which is an increase of about $28 from last month. Watch out now. Now, in terms of the overall dividend yield for my portfolio is now 0.26%, and let's actually take a look at what dividends hit my account this month. Now, on July 3rd, I got $4.44 from Nvidia, and honestly, I don't know what I would do without those Nvidia dividends. They are really just holding my portfolio up. And then on July 10th, I got $142.45 from Taiwan Semi for a total of $146.89 in dividend income for the month. All right, so let's take a look at the next month and what holdings I think I'm going to add to going forward. Now, in terms of my current allocation, the only one that I want a higher allocation to right now is Palantir, and I explained that a little bit in my video when I bought. But it was a starter position for my portfolio, and I was trying out my low indicator, but I want a bigger allocation to it. I'm just kind of waiting to see if the price ends up going down. If it does, I'll definitely be buying more, but at some point, you can expect that position to be bigger than it is today. But in terms of ones I think are good value right now, as the market has gone up, things are really starting to look less attractive, especially when you take into account their projected growth rate. So I would actually pare this list down right now and say, if I had to choose, I would pick Taiwan Semi as really the only one where I would confidently say that their projected growth and reliability of that growth is still outpacing the current price. Now, the caveat to that, of course, is that their current price also includes the high geopolitical risk that the company has. So you have to decide for yourself whether it's worth it or not. But overall, I'm not looking to really add to any of my existing positions unless the price changes quite a bit, other than Palantir, of course, which I want a higher allocation to. But based on what I'm seeing today out there in the market, I may have some stocks that actually come down to more attractive levels if this downtrend continues for more than one day or so. All right, so like we do every month, let's review my portfolio strategy. My purpose is to provide a high quality of life for my family in retirement, so we never have to worry about money. My goal is to beat the S&P 500 in total return by 20% or better without impacting how much quality time I can spend with my family. And then lastly, my updated strategy is I want to attach myself to companies who have tangible market advantages that align with secular trends and are generating increasing cash flows with efficient capital allocation. All right, so in terms of the family update this month, it was actually a pretty fun month because we finally went out and did something that we haven't done in a while. We spent a few days at South Padre Island on the Texas coast, enjoying the beach, hanging out with great friends, and getting in some nice sun and family time. There's this place called Yummy's Bistro that had amazing breakfast. We had a steak dinner at Liam's Steakhouse, which apparently I didn't even take one picture of. And we did a dinner on the boat tour, which was really cool, hanging out on a sailboat in the bay around South Padre, watching the sunset, feeling patriotic, and then getting treated to a fireworks show right in front of the boat. We really did have a great time. It was awesome, and it was much needed because we hadn't done anything like that for a while. But in classic life always reminds you that you're not in charge fashion, we got in a little fender bender on the way home because people don't know how to drive and yield when they're supposed to. So yeah, it put a little bit of a damper on the trip, but it's another great example of why financial security matters because no matter what, life always finds a way to test you.
Life finds a way.
So yeah, I mean, it was another good month. It's been an unbelievable 3-month run. I know that those can't continue forever, so we'll kind of see what happens. I mean, again, just looking at what's happening today, my portfolio today is down like 4.5%. Coinbase down like 15%, which is just crazy. And you never know if those things are going to last or if they're going to be like a small blip on another leg up, right? You just don't know, which is why it's so important to hold stocks that you actually believe in. And we'll just see what happens. I mean, the August portfolio recap may be a really interesting one. All right, so if I recap what happened this month, the portfolio was up over 6% and outpaced the S&P 500 and Nasdaq by a lot. We're still crushing the S&P and Nasdaq year to date and the S&P since inception. And we continue to make up ground on the Nasdaq all the time, even with giving it a bit of a head start. So how'd y'all do for July? Let me know down in the comments. Now, if you want to see my reaction to Meta and Microsoft's earnings from a couple days ago, you can watch that by clicking this video right here. Hope you guys have a great day out there. Financial independence is true freedom. So keep building and stacking wins. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.